Gotta respect Quentin Tarantino for once again calling out the hypocrisies in Hollywood. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and filmmaker Quentin Tarantino appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience this past week, and it's a great interview. I have a clip here I want to play, but I highly encourage you to check out the whole thing over on Spotify. If you have followed Joe over there, I know a lot of you haven't. But Quentin Tarantino spoke up once again about his relationship with Harvey Weinstein, and he shared his regret and the fact that he could have done more. Let's play this clip I've edited, and we'll talk more after it's done.
I wish I had sat him down and had the uncomfortable conversation. I didn't know about any or anything like that. I just, but I knew he was, I chalked it up to the boss chasing the secretary around the desk, as if that's okay. But I mean, that's how I kind of looked at it. He was, making unwanted advances. That's how I looked at it. But I wish I talked to him. I wish I had sat him down and go, Harvey, you can't do this. You're going to fuck up everything.
Do you think that no one talked to him and maybe that was how he got so completely out of control?
Yeah, maybe his brother Bob. Maybe, but I don't think anybody talked to him about it. And the thing about it is everybody who was in his orbit knew about it. There's nobody who said they didn't know that didn't know. If you were in his orbit, and that includes all the big actors who he palled around with. They all knew. They didn't know anything about, but they had heard.
Yeah.
They had heard things. They had heard about him just, putting the bite on somebody in a limo or something.
A lot to digest there because, look, this is actually not the first time Tarantino has opened up about this. Back in 2017, and he says this in the interview, if you actually heard it, the full thing, he talks about how he's talked about Weinstein before. He says a lot of similar things here. I knew enough to do more than I did. He also explains a story in this piece about how he did, because you got to remember, he was... Mira Sorvino was one of the big accusers, right? And so she came forward, and then Tarantino started dating her. And so his justification was, well, I'm dating her now. He's going to leave her alone now, so that's not a big deal. But there were instances where people came and spoke to him, and he sort of never really took it as seriously as he admits he should have. But there was one, apparently, where he did sort of confront Harvey, and Harvey gave a disingenuous apology. But Tarantino clearly has regret over the fact that he didn't, while he didn't know it was to the extreme that it was going, it still was enough for him to have wished he had sort of spoken up. He considered Harvey to be a father figure to him. He was instrumental in his career and helped him tremendously. And so obviously this was heartbreaking to hear. And he knew that he was doing things that he shouldn't have been doing. And he admits that he allowed it. So look, Tarantino, equally as accountable as everyone else in Hollywood is the reality here, because the most important takeaway, I think, from all of this is the fact that he's acknowledging the fact that all of Hollywood knew. Anybody who worked with him closely, regularly, knew about it. And there's a lot of people who knew about it. I mean, you can go find it yourself. There are videos of all the Meryl Streeps and Jennifer Lawrences and everybody, Gwyneth Paltrow's, all just raving about him at the award shows and how much they love him, and even doing little jokes, sort of acknowledging, be careful. In fact, it's so crazy. Like, here's Courtney Love. I don't know if you guys even saw this one, warning about him in 2005.
Harvey Weinstein invites you to a private party and in 4 seasons.
Don't go. And then she shares that, and then that came out. And then, while I wasn't there, I was eternally banned by CAA for speaking out against Harvey. I mean, it's messed up. It's super messed up how many people do it. And when you go down the wormhole to realize how many people knew and how they sort of played it, like Gwyneth Paltrow she apparently was a pivotal role in the downfall, they say. They give this whole speech about how, she knew... was when the investigation begun, she was one of the first persons to call and sort of say, I want to help. I want to get this sorted out, because apparently something happened to her. And then Harvey shows up to her house that same day, and she hides in a bathroom to sort of talk to the reporters, like, I don't know what to do. He's here, whatever. This is revealing in two ways. It reveals, one, that she knew something clearly happened to her, and she sort of ignored it for a long time. Not only did she know, Brad Pitt knew. Brad Pitt came and threatened to do some damage, saying that you better leave her alone and never do it again. So here you have Gwyneth Paltrow, Brad Pitt for years, thanking him, working with him still, and doing this, knowing the behavior he had. Both of which, acknowledging it's not right and don't do it to us, but then never stopping him or calling him out or getting him fired for for anything else. And here she is now. You're like, I want to take it out. I want to do the right thing now because she knows she's accountable. She knows she could have done something sooner and she didn't. And so the reality in all of this is the fact that Tarantino is right. Everybody knew, and there have been a lot of celebrities, the Meryl Streeps, except the Jennifer Lawrences, who all claim that they weren't involved. They had nothing to do with it. But the sad reality is, come on. Yes, you did. Stop playing dumb. And the fact is Hollywood does this all the time. They allow it. And then when a criminal investigation, which is what happened in this case, let's remember, I want to make sure I echo that. Ronan Farrow and all these people get all the credit. But the reality is they knew a criminal investigation was happening. They knew the writing was on the wall and that this was going to get blown up out of proportion, to where he couldn't even contain it any further. And so they smartly jumped on a story at the right time, knowing, well, let's expose this before it even gets public. And that's really what Ronan Farrow did. So props on him for the timing and everything else. But you got to remember, these weren't just mere allegations. These were criminal charges. Big difference. And at that point, things change. And that's when Hollywood realized, well, crap, what do we do now? We all knew this was going to happen. And now there's actual potential criminal investigation, et cetera, et cetera. And then that prompted everyone else to sort of feel more comfortable. Because there was an era in Hollywood, of scaredness from a lot of actors who were afraid to say no or afraid to say anything. Because even the big dogs, the Gwyneth Paltrows, the Brad Pitts, the Tarantinos, weren't saying anything. They were all just sort of the Hollywood machine. People afraid that they weren't going to be able to work again if they had spoken up, because that's what Hollywood does. Hollywood is so corrupt and gross and messed up, and it's going to continue to be forever, that it's just... I guess we all know this, right? But my point being, it's just like, it's so crazy to see the hypocrisy all the time of how we know better, we do this, do that, we need to cast this better, and we're going to blah, 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 blah. You're so full of it. You allow such awful things to happen until you can't any further and there's criminal investigations to call it out. Otherwise, you let all the rich and powerful do what they want to do. There's that whole story of, what's the guy's name? Who I'm forgetting now. It's not... there's another big producer. I'm just completely blanked. I had his name's Scott Rudin, right? Scott Rudin. Scott Rudin's another one where it's like all these interns. So many people have stepped up to really call out the behavior and the way that they were treated around by him, which sounds abhorrent, like awful. And he's sort of, I'm gonna go take a pause with all my money, and nothing's happening. And this guy's a complete jerk. Like complete jerk to people like, yeah, we know, like to a bad degree. And nothing's going to happen to him. He'll be back. Watch. No celebrities have stepped up to support them because they don't care. Hollywood doesn't care. They just want to make money. They just want to stay famous. They don't care about what's right or wrong. So that's why it's so hypocritical to see these people out there always being the morality police when they're all hiding the most disgusting things behind the scenes already. So, look, at the end of the day, at least Tarantino finally is acknowledging and take accountability. Yeah, I should have done more. I made him. I knew, and I didn't do anything about it. And that takes guts to admit. And at least he's doing that. Some people are not going to be okay with the fact that he did nothing, but a lot of people in town not only did nothing, but refused to say anything still this day and take any accountability. And I'm sure there's a lot of accusations out there. Jennifer Lawrence got into a heated, Vanderpump Rules, what's her name, Law or whatever, where she was sort of accusing, of course, Jennifer Lawrence, with Harvey. Who knows at this point, right? But if you watch some of those clips of Jennifer and Harvey at award shows, wouldn't surprise me. Would not surprise me. Easy way to get up the ladder was to get up with Harvey, and a lot of people did it knowingly. A lot of people had no problem doing it because they knew it was the fast pass to get an Oscar and to get awards. And, is that right? No, it sucks. It's not fair, but it's consensual, right? They knew what they were signing up for. So, look, at the end of the day, Harvey is a monster. And I hate that Hollywood lumped everybody at that point. Myself, I was literally number 2 afterwards. Number 2 for something I didn't even do. And I'm forever, Hollywood has banished me for that and will always label me as that. And it's just, it is what it is. You got to move on. You got to accept it. But it just, again, there's so many examples of the fact that they're so hypocritical in who they push out and the right that they do. I'm telling you guys, be careful how the media spins this stuff, and be careful when you go out there. Like Courtney Love says, don't go into anybody's private Hilton room for meetings. That's never gonna be good unless you want to, with that person. Then by all means, step up and go have fun. That's your right. Do what you want. But anyway, Hollywood sucks. Hollywood's not a safe place. But I gotta once again give props for Tarantino for calling it out. What do you guys think? If you like coverage like this, will you even get coverage like this? Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell so you do. Smash the like button for the engagement, and leave your comments down below. I want to hear your thoughts on this subject and everything else. Got lots more. I've been pre-taping a lot of this so that you might see me in similar shirts and things. Pre-taping because I'm out on vacation this week, so stay tuned. I'll have some guest hosts in this week. Thanks so much for watching. We're always live Tuesdays and Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Join us there as well. Thanks, everybody. Oh, and watch the other Tarantino video. It's right there on the left.